Yes, FideMaster John Curtis, and what we're doing is we're doing Attack, Attack, Attack Part 2. And this time our game that we're focusing on is between the Magician, myself, the FideMaster as white, and Dobur, 2,221 rating from Peru. Dobur is a very good player. Unfortunately, he just had a bad game and succumbed to an attack, and half of which he never even saw coming. But I'm going to try to explain this to you, the ideas behind this game, slowly, so you can take them in and watch just how I conduct an attack, a chess attack against my opponent's king, and the themes that I work on. I'm going to explain to you exactly what I'm thinking so you know how I'm planning and working it all out ahead. Okay, I play e4, the book move. My opponent's going to play Alekhines defence, the Scandinavian variation, with knight f6. Now, in this kind of position, I can choose to push the pawn, or I can choose to defend the pawn, right? By pushing the pawn, it's an active game where you go for space, and black does a lot of counterplay. And I thought to myself, no, I'll just play a logical developing move, put a knight on c3, and defend my e5 square. My opponent played d5. It's a book move. Okay, I captured the pawn. That's a book move. And that's where we're just about the end of the book moves here. That's my last book move. Bishop c4. My opponent takes the knight, and I recapture with the c pawn. Queen to f3 is the best move in that position. And would have threatened queen takes knight or bishop takes knight and bishop takes pawn check. But after e6, black has got no problems. Okay, so I'll show you that. Queen to f3. So you're threatening the checkmate down there. Bishop takes pawn check. Say if the knight went there, you could play bishop takes pawn check. Right, if the knight goes there, bishop takes pawn check. And if the king goes there, if the king goes there, it is checkmate in the middle of the board. Okay, well obviously that never happened. So I took, as I say, I captured with the c pawn. The logic behind that is that I just want to, I'm playing a 5-minute chess game, I just want to slowly build my pieces up. So I played d4. That's a star move. And I was a bit worried because I know I've got double pawns, but I had faith and belief in myself that I had the tactical ability to overcome those problems. So he played c5, which is a really direct attack, and it's a star move. The engine says it's the best move. So I played knight to f3, even though I can see what black is planning. And here he comes. Queen to a5. He's threatening pawn takes pawn. He wants to prevent me castling. He's hoping that I'll play a weak passive move like bishop here, and to protect my pawn, and then my pieces won't be working very effectively. Okay, so what did I do? I castled. Star move, best move. Just give him the pawn. And it's a variation which he didn't take into consideration very much because he didn't see as far ahead as what I did. So he took the pawn. Now, if you analyse this position, he's playing right into a tactical player like me into my hands, okay? Why? Because I have castled, number one. Number two, I've got a knight out, right? Knight developed. Number three, I've got a bishop developed, okay? So, and what have I lost? Well, I've lost one pawn. So I really wouldn't worry about that when you look at computer programs like Alpha Zero are giving up pawns against the likes of Stockfish for just spatial advantage. Here we go, bishop checks. This is the move that I saw 3 moves ago. Okay, I saw this move 3 moves ago, and after bishop d2, I saw this move. Bishop hits queen, going for another tempo. And again, now I've got 3 pieces out. I've got a bishop and a knight and another bishop out. So 2 bishops and a knight I've got developed. Okay, he's got 1 bishop just defending his position. So he played queen a6, a3. He played queen a3. So I played rook to b1. Now I'm threatening bishop takes bishop. I'm probably threatening queen to e2. The engine says I should play bishop back to d3, right? With the idea of knight to e5, obviously, sacrificing more material. But I was happy with this move, just to have him, as far as a speed chess game is concerned. So his queen's still offside, and I've got this rook here move, okay? So he took the bishop off, and I recaptured with the rook, okay? So I'm threatening the b pawn. Now, I think he played queen to a6, which is supposed to be the best move. And then I came up with this idea in this position. I have to defend my rook. If I move my rook back all the way back, the position's too slow for me. I'm not going to get enough compensation, I don't think, for my piece. Anyway, I played queen b1. The engine agreed with me. It said it's a star move. So I'm threatening this pawn here, and at the same time, what I'm doing is I'm tying the queen down to the b pawn. Okay? And now the queen is out of play temporarily. So I thought to myself, I looked at this position and I thought, well, how do I continue my attack? Pawn takes pawn is just not good enough. I thought rook e1 doesn't do anything, you just take my pawn off. And then I saw this move, d5. And I knew straight away it simply threatens pawn takes pawn. But the point is, if he takes a pawn, which he was virtually forced to do, he can play bishop d6. He can play bishop d6 in this position. Okay? And then if pawn takes pawn, castles. And then he'd be returning the pawn to me, right? Okay. But this is what he played. Pawn takes pawn. Then I gave him a check on the open file. He played bishop e7, star move, best move. And then I played c4. Why do I play c4? Because c4 threatens pawn takes pawn. Okay? Now, if he played pawn takes pawn here, my plan was simply to play queen to e4. Threatening queen takes bishop check and queen takes rook. And he can't defend both. He can't defend both. He certainly can't take the rook. He can castle, but after I move my rook back, right, he would then lose either the rook or the bishop if he castled. Okay? I just return my rook back to b1, and then, okay, so that's what would happen in that particular position. So let's go back and see what did happen. He saw that. He played queen b7. I looked at the board, and then I had to make a decision. What do I do? If I play pawn takes pawn, he can just simply play queen takes pawn or knight c6 and then castle, and he seems to be fine. Okay. So can you see the move that I played in this position? You're going to be very surprised. You see, this pawn here looks like it's defended twice, doesn't it? Okay, but we just take it off. You can't take it with the bishop because the rook puts him in check. He can't take it with the pawn because the queen takes the queen. And yet the rook, which was before in this position, tied up in this little box with lack of mobility, now the rook is free and has control over many, many squares and threatens to take the d pawn. Okay. He castled. Star move, best move. I took the pawn off. And now you can see how I've activated my rook. And now when we assess the position, we see black has got 5 pawns and white's got 5 pawns. And I thought to myself, okay, there's not much time on the clock. We've both got 3 minutes and 44 seconds. And I thought, what move can I do to try to continue the attack and keep the pressure on my opponent? And then I came up with this move. I saw if bishop g5, oh, he played bishop f6. I played bishop g5. And I thought, well, if he takes the bishop, I could take with the knight and threaten checkmate, get a little bit of a tempo, and he's still got this move piece locked in and the castle's locked in. I want to do things before he can mobilise. My whole game has been based around that. From the sacrifice of the pawn earlier to the key moves that I played on the queen side to activating the rook and getting all my pieces in play. You'll see my rook here has an open file. This rook here is aiming both ways. This queen here is aiming at the king. It's also aiming at the queen. The knight is well placed on f3 with lots of key squares. And basically I have a lot of board control. Okay, so this is what happens. He takes the bishop and the knight takes. Okay, now he's threatened with checkmate. That's checkmate down there. So he has to stop that. So he played g6. Straight away, the first thing I see is that if I move my knight back here, see if I can move my knight back here, I've got a knight check in there. I thought, that's really good. But I don't want to move my knight back here just yet because my opponent can try to hold his position. But it is a good move. It's a good move, knight here. But it doesn't quite knock him out straight away. So I played queen to b2. Now here when I made this move, you can see the little arrow with the engine. The engine's saying you should play queen to a1. Now what is the difference between queen to b2 and queen to a1? Well, I'll show you. In this position, queen b2, black can play f3, f6 I should say. We played knight there. Anyway, here we go. Now I play knight here. Now, in this position, black can play pawn here and attack the knight. I play knight checks and win the rook. Okay? So his knight c6 move was not good. He really had to play pawn here. Okay? Now, if I play knight here on that pawn, he could play queen e7. Now look at the problem I've got. My knight is pinned to a checkmate. There's a checkmate down there behind. If the queen was on A1, like the engine told me to do, well then I wouldn't have that problem with queen to E7. Okay. But I played queen to B2. My opponent played knight to C6, and then I moved my powerful knight to E4. Now he can't play F6 because just simply knight takes pawn check will win. He played rook on there, forgetting about the knight check, right? Thinking that there's a mate down there and I can't do anything. And then, of course, he was shattered. He played king to G7, another mistake. And I just simply played knight takes rook check, double check. It's a check by the queen along the long diagonal, a check by the knight. And now the correct move is king H6, of course, but he decided that would be the end of the game. He'd had enough. So I just checkmated him right in the face. So that was really a tour de force of attacking play. When we look at the report card for this game, I played at 98% accuracy. If I played that queen to A1 instead of queen to B2, I would have been in 99% plus accuracy. My opponent played with 88.3% accuracy. So he had played a very, very strong game, just under 90% accuracy. So Dobur from Serbia is, sorry, not Dobur from Serbia, I should say Dobur from Peru, playing the Alekhines Scandinavian, is no fool. He's a good player. It's just that he had a bad game, and we all have those bad games from time to time. The secret is what you have to do is pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again. Anyway, will you please give me a thumbs up for my video? I would really appreciate it. If you like my videos, you can support my channel by making a small donation to PayPal. Even if it's only $2 or $3, everything helps. One schoolboy donated $1.67 of his pocket money. I was really impressed with him, and what a fine young man. And I certainly look after him whenever he comes in the channel. I always make sure that he can play the FideMaster, and I try to give him chess lessons and build his rating. That one day when he plays in tournaments, he'll get his $1.67 back, plus a hell of a lot more. Anyway, by the time I'm finished with these guys, don't worry, they improve. If you want to subscribe to my channel, it's free to subscribe on YouTube, and you'll hit the bell for notifications of further videos, and I'm making them regularly, and you can pop in and see what's on offer. Made a good video recently on Paul Carriers, the great Paul Carriers. So go back and have a look at some of my older videos, and you'll be quite surprised. Some of them are very entertaining. They're not all very long. I'm starting to try to make my videos short, because I know people are busy in the modern world, and they like to just be entertained for short periods of time. So I'm shortening those videos so that you don't have to sit there for 2 hours. I think 2 hours is a bit too long to watch a YouTube video. We all got shorter attention spans now, I should think. Anyway, I'm going to go now. I want to thank you very much for coming in to watch my channel. And it's bye-bye from me. And bye-bye from Teddy and his assistant and all the other guys on my channel. Bye-bye now. See you later.